That was due to several large invoices paid for FEMA repairs. Let's see. Jail was about the same. Revenue expenditures, they ended the month at over 700,000. Bottom of the next page. We ended the month with $46 million in the bank. 3.2, the 1 cent sales tax. Look at the bottom of the column on year 2018. The projection was 7.5 million. So far, we've got 7,056,000 in, and we should go over the projection when I get the last sales tax of the year here in a couple of weeks. 3.3, the jail tax. Same situation. The projection was 10.1. So far, we've got 9.5 in. And another 800,000 will put it over the projection. 3.4, the road half-cent sales tax. It's done well this year, 7.18% above last year. And so far, 1,498,000 has come in, and that's already over the projection with a month to go. Finally, 3.5, employee insurance began 2.8, ended the month 2.9. Probably been our best year as far as keeping the claims down. That's good for the bottom line and for the employees, of course. Anyway, that's all I have.
Okay, are there any questions for Director Hill? All right, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
So the next thing we have is that we've got Shannon's going to come and give the comptroller's report.
Okay, 4.1 is the summary of operations expenses, and for 11 months in, we should be at around 92%. And overall, for all the accounts in general fund, we're at about 90%. And then for all the special projects funds, they're in good shape except for the 3002 Circuit Court Automation Fund was in the negative, but that's going to be fixed with an ordinance tonight. And overall, for everything, we're at about 84%. Then 4.2 is the unappropriated reserve report, and there were 2 ordinances that affected that for November, and so the total for general is 5,371,173, and the jail is a negative 1,338,533, and overall, for all the funds, the unappropriated reserve balance is 9,930,535. Any questions?
If there are no questions, we thank you very much for bringing that. And we're going to rearrange the order just a little bit. I believe that Judge Taylor is here.
Oh, I am, yes. Thank you.
And so we'll go ahead and we'll just swap places, and so we'll go to it should be number 8. And this is a line item transfer, and if you wouldn't mind, just give us just a thumbnail sketch of what's going on here.
Okay. Well, when the 7th Division started in 2011, of course, we have, there's myself, my trial court assistant, my court reporter, and my bailiff, and we all have computers, and we had brand new computers on January 1 of 2011, and they all aged out this year. Shanna and Shelley's both died, and those had to be replaced immediately. And then IT told Mark and myself that we had to get new computers. So that has put us over the top on our budget, and I was hoping that, I understood that they could be billed for 2019, but it turned out that they hit the books in 2018. So that's what we need, is 2 new computers. My computer won't support some of the things that come through. I mean, I can't open certain attachments and different links that I have to get to for work, and so that's what we need, is some more money for computers. And the total, I believe, is $886. I rely completely on Jennifer Hinkle to tell us how much we need and where it needs to come from, so would greatly appreciate it.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. Okay,
Thank you so much.
yes, thank you. Thank you very much. All right, so now we'll go back, and we will go back to number 5, Judge Martin. And he wrote us a nice little letter here explaining, and part of it was the software support management. And then he had $1,000 for food, and that's for my understanding is that is for the jury trials that those guys have to eat, and there have been more of those than normal. And so he's requesting that we make the line item transfer per because in our budget controls, we have a certain amount, and this exceeds that amount, and so we'd like to, so are there any questions on this?
Move to approve.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. Aye, okay. All right, so that one's approved, so we'll go on to the next one, which is Animal Services. And so there's kind of an explanation here. They're just moving the money around to cover what they need to cover. Yes, Ms. Masson.
What is a feral cat den?
My understanding is a feral cat den is what they put out there to catch the feral cats.
Okay, well, I've heard of a have-a-heart trap, but I've never heard it called a feral cat den. I'm sorry, it's a new word.
That's right.
We're going out, sorry.
I think they're being out of order over there.
Ah, here we go. Okay, so, all right, so do we have a motion for this?
Can I ask what other professional services was intended to be, since it's so big that there's all this money? Do we know?
I believe that that's from whenever they decided not to, when they don't have a vet.
Okay.
I believe that's where that money came from.
Move to pass.
Second.
Move to pass, second, all in favor? Aye. Aye, okay. All right, and so we'll go on to the next one, which is number 7. It's 7.1, it's archives. And, we're seeing a pattern here, and once we realized, as we began the budget process, that the computers were all aging at the same time, and that situation hopefully has been taken care of, and we won't have it in the future. But this is another case where we got caught with needing a couple of new computers, and like a lot of things, whenever they go down, they're down for the count, and they can, so you have to do something. And so this is just moving the money around in order to cover that.
Move to approve.
It's been approved and seconded. All in favor? Aye. Okay. Yes, I'm so sorry. So the next one is the coroner's office. And do you want to come up and talk about this?
Great comments.
Okay. basically, I'm just moving money around to make my budget come out equal. I'm sorry, nothing to go there, you know.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor? Aye.
Thank you.
Okay. Yes. Thank you very much. Yes.
One comment, I mean, these have been very easy to handle tonight. I mean, we're talking a few $100s to a few $1,000s. I think it's really been helpful, and I commend the departments that the budgets have been that accurate, that this is all we need to move around. And when your computers die, and it makes sense. So hopefully it hadn't been too painful on people having to come and get that approved. But I think it's been very helpful for us that the budget we approved and the budget that we're spending have tracked very closely with this line item cap. So I just thank them for budgeting so accurately and making it where it's a lot easier for us to keep up with. So, and again, hopefully this hadn't been too painful. Thank you.
And there's one more adjustment that we want to make. The ordinance 12.1, we're going to change that to a line item transfer. Rather than go to the expense of making an ordinance and going through all that process, what we'd like to do is transfer that money. We have, in the quorum court, there's money in the mileage that's left over that we didn't use this year, more than enough to cover this, and so we'd like to make a line item transfer to, and like I said, rather than going through an ordinance and taking the money out of the general fund.
Do we need a motion for that?
And I apologize because this thing kind of unraveled at the last moment.
Do we need to stay on agenda?
Yeah.
And get to that in a moment?
Yeah, we can do that. I was just trying, I apologize, I was just trying to keep all the line item transfers together.
Okay, I'm just trying to figure out how it's related to 10.1.
Right. Okay, all right, so let's go ahead. We'll just stay right on the agenda. The next one's an ordinance approving additional revenues from the general fund to various items in the sheriff's budget.
Overall, it's 10. 10.1. Oh, okay.
Move to pass 10.1.
So we have so we have a motion and it's been seconded. All in favor? Okay. All right, and so, and then we have 11.1, and it's an ordinance reducing the amount of $4,056.21 from unappropriated reserves in the Circuit Court Automation Fund and appropriating the same amount to line item 300-20437 in the Circuit Court Automation Fund for the budget for 2018. Yes, ma'am.
Move to pass.
All in favor? Aye. Okay. All right, and so now we're to 12.1, and 12.1 was the one I was referring to earlier. Rather than do an ordinance and go through that process, it just makes a lot more sense for us to do a line item transfer. And so we'd like to change that, and the document will be ready for the quorum court meeting.
I would move to pass the line item transfer that's being used in place of 12.1 ordinance.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
It says we don't have funds in our budget to pay for it, so how would we do a line item transfer?
Right, we have leftover money in the
mileage, okay.
mileage.
Thank you.
So I have a motion and a second. All in favor? Okay. All right. And then the last thing is that we just have to go, the one thing that we've changed on the budget is that we've just updated the budget controls. We've gotten we've straightened out as far as the years go. We kind of had a little struggle with that, but we've got all that straightened out now. And so it's slightly different, and so that's why we're bringing it here for us just to look at, make sure that we're okay with it before we, so we'll be ready to pass the budget when the quorum court time comes. Ms. Masson, yes.
The budget is on second reading already at the quorum court, so
Yes,
if
it
it's to
is.
be amended, it has to be amended there.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
It will be amended, but I didn't want to blind side.
Okay, and you're saying the only changes were in item 6?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And item 6 is just where we got the percentages straightened out and where we had to stay within the 100% range. There's some people that are very close to that.
Okay.
And so again, I think that's more for our information than anything else.
Okay, thank you.
And so is there, yes,
The millage changed my revenue, so that will be the
thank you. Yeah, if you'll look, we have an updated budget that it reflects the change in the revenue that the unanticipated revenue that Mr. Hill had. And so that part has changed slightly. Do you know that amount, Bobby?
1.7 or 1.8 million, can't remember.
Yep, 1.75. So, and this is another thing that will change, and we'll get these, we'll amend the budget when we get ready to pass it at the quorum court. But again, I wanted you all to see what's going on. Be sure we communicate on that. So are there any comments? Okay, is there any other public comments? I'd just like to take a moment and since this is going to be my last Finance Committee meeting, I deeply appreciate everybody helping this year. I'm very humbled, but I feel like what limited success I've had with the budget is because I ask instead of told. And I tried as hard as I could to build coalition, and I'm very grateful for that. I thank you for everybody's cooperation. And so having said that, I think there's probably just one more motion.
Move we adjourn.
Oh, wait.
I just want to make one comment. I think we have it's easy to kind of glaze over that, at least I do. I know we end up discussing and going through budgets if there's an increase to it. This year, if there wasn't a 3% decrease, then we discussed it, kind of thing. But I want to make sure we say thanks to the departments, and I know everybody can't do this, but the departments that were able to decrease their budget and we didn't have to go through a whole lot and whatever, kept our expenses in check. I just don't want those departments that worked really hard when they could to keep their budget at 3% less than what it was last year to not know. I don't want that to be a thankless position, let me put it that way.
Absolutely.
Because it it frees up the funds for everybody, makes our job a lot easier, and oftentimes just goes unmentioned. So I just say thanks to the folks that did that work and made our job a little easier.
Thank you very much. And we all appreciate that very much for all that y'all did to, to keep things under control. Reduce your budget. So,
Now I will move we adjourn. Second.
I've been moved and second. All in favor? Any opposed?